vote. Focus on ballot access, we focus on the voters, and we focus on actually casting the ballot. In 2010, I appeared for the first time before the board on an issue relating to ballot access, and so we're going to start real quickly with that. On our agenda, we have a couple of different action points as well. And when you look at the Illinois law and the U.S. Constitution, it requires that everybody that is in office is a U.S. citizen. And Illinois currently has a problem because nowhere in the system does it allow for proof of citizenship of anybody running for any office in the entire state.
Wait a minute. No, we're not here to discuss proof of citizenship. We're here to discuss ballot security.
That's right, sir.
And proof of citizenship has nothing to do with that. All right? Illinois law doesn't require proof of citizenship. That's not an issue for us.
Yes, you're correct. Illinois law does not require proof of citizenship. However, it does require for individuals to be U.S. citizens, and it is an issue of security because it relates to ballot access.
No. Section 1 half does to the other. That doesn't require proof of citizenship. It requires to be U.S. citizens. They sign a statement of candidacy attesting to the fact that they're U.S. citizens, and that's sufficient under Illinois law. Now, if you want to change that and require candidates to submit their birth certificate, you go down to Springfield and discuss that with the General Assembly.
You know, thank you for that suggestion. And part of Illinois statute and law also provides that the Illinois State Board of Elections will make recommendations to the General Assembly. And one of our action points today is that you would fulfill that responsibility and present a recommendation that since it is a reoccurring problem in the state that citizens are asking whether or not candidates that are on their ballot are in fact eligible, that you would put forth some kind of a recommendation to the General Assembly to take that issue up. Because if we all work together on that, we can get this out so much faster.
Well,
so I've actually written a statement here that you could use. I'm sure that Mr. Sandvoss, he actually...
Are you on back on ballot security now, or are we still talking about these court provisions?
You know, I don't confuse the eligibility of citizenship strictly with Mr. Obama's eligibility. People that are on the ballot have to be citizens, right. And currently we don't have that, and there's no way in the public record for anybody to tell.
Well, then go down to Springfield and explain it to the General Assembly. The first guy you should contact to be your state representative, and see if they want to put in a bill for that.
And I am putting in a formal request, and thank you for that suggestion, sir, for the board to take up the issue of making a recommendation to the state regarding the fact that there is a deficiency in the current statute.
We'll discuss that. Our legislative package has already been submitted. It's getting close to all the deadlines have come and gone in terms of introducing legislation. But if you want to, you've got 10 minutes. I mean,
well, I'm sorry.
We're already talking about issues irrelevant to ballot security.
This is very important about security. And I just want to point out that Mr. Sandvoss actually made a recommendation that I should put forth a suggestion.
You know, the compromising voting system. We've heard testimony before in front of the board about how electronic voting systems can be compromised by third parties. And we've taken all those suggestions into consideration, that they've made a recommendation into consideration. Now, if you've got any recommendations along those lines, we'd be glad to hear them.
All right, I will get to that. My second, now I'm moving along, not to be rude, but I know time is important here. The second point that we have on the agenda is called apparent conformity, and that also goes to our ballot security. And I do want to rush through and just read this. There has been an appellate decision that requires the State Board of Elections to practice apparent conformity. And it has been told to me by Mr. Sandvoss that the Illinois State Board of Elections does not practice apparent conformity. And I want to serve proper notice to you that you are not in compliance with Illinois law, number one. And number two, that there have been 2 appellate court decisions that have already ruled that it is your responsibility to assure that each petition before it is placed up for the ballot actually is in compliance with the law. And so that would be the second action point that I would like for the board to look at, is to adjust the Illinois State Board of Elections practices in order to avoid an upcoming lawsuit, of course, that would cause for the actual clerks to practice apparent conformity when ballots are set for, or when people apply to be on the ballot.
We've already gone to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, called JCAR, and submitted a definition of ballot conformity. What ballot conformity, or I mean apparent conformity, entails. You know, other than, you know, the petition looking like a petition, a statement of candidacy being filed and what have you. JCAR denied our request for a rule finding apparent conformity. We put in a bill regarding apparent conformity. What is it? How far can we go with it?
I'm familiar with that.
Examining the petition before, you know, there are objections. And the bill was defeated. So the General Assembly and the legislature has spoken on that issue. And we would like to expand it, but we can't expand it because we have to change the law.
I'm unsure about that because the last time that the law was looked at, the appellate court ruled that actually the board does have a responsibility to practice apparent
Well,
conformity.
sure, we have a responsibility, but, you know, if the General Assembly or its administrative rules arm, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, denies us, what are we supposed to do?
I don't know. How should I handle that? That's a great question. I don't know. How do we handle that? Because here we have a law and a
The
problem.
legislature, and see if you can convince them. We can't. Apparent conformity to us right now is we look at the face of the petition, we look at all the documents are filed properly. We can't go beyond that right now. We cannot go beyond that. That's up to an objector. If an objector wants to come in and say there's deficiencies in the petition, there's defects in the petition, there's not enough signatures, the signatures aren't registered voters, blah, 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 then, you know, we hold hearings on those objections.
Yes.
So that, I mean, that's the way the process is gone down. Usually objections bring out any defects in the petition.
I do understand that's the way the system works. I also know that the court has specifically ruled that that is not the way it's supposed to work.
Well,
So,
the court ought to, the appellate court, I haven't read that decision, but perhaps they should talk to the leadership of the General Assembly and say, you know,
I don't think they do that. I think there's a separation of powers.
They tell us we're blue in the face, and if we can't get something enacted, what are we supposed to do?
I don't know.
We can't enact laws ourselves here.
But you know, in 2008, Alan Keyes got on the ballot without ever signing a statement of candidacy affirming that he was a U.S. citizen or constitutionally eligible. So not practicing apparent conformity at that level is a problem.
Well, the apparent conformity doesn't include citizenship. The apparent conformity includes statement of candidacy.
Yes, sir.
Testing to citizens.
That's correct. And you guys have allowed people to get on the ballot without signing a statement of candidacy in 2010, 2011.
No, allow them to get on the ballot. They'd be objected to immediately and thrown off the ballot. That's a mandatory requirement.
That's correct, but if somebody doesn't object, they are allowed on the ballot, and Alan Keyes is one perfect
Well,
example.
I can assure you, well, wasn't he objected to?
No.
Okay, objected to?
We voted for Alan Keyes, and he didn't ever affirm he was constitutionally eligible, because he didn't sign the statement of candidacy, which is why I'm concerned about apparent conformity.
So, you know, of course, that's a federal law, so the rules are a little different. But I mean, I don't recall that he did not submit a statement of candidacy. I think he was nominated by the what's called Sharon to replace the candidate who dropped out.
Well, sir, you know, I don't want to, you're
Well, I
confusing
don't wanna get
stories.
into
Yeah,
the
he actually
details.
didn't, it was a federal office. Okay, so